Coming at you like coronavirus, guys. It's Monday, and I decided to get the control arms out of the car, which actually wasn't a debacle. Anybody who's worked on old cars knows that these bushings get all crusty, the bolts get stuck, and you usually have to use your air hammer to bust them through. It works, I've done it, but it sucks. So either way, the original stock stamped steel ones are pretty good. They got new bushings. They're fairly new. I know my dad replaced them. They still have the blue paint on them. So they have been replaced, but I got some DOM 2-inch tubing here, 120 wall. This is what we're going to make our control arms out of. So what I'm going to end up doing is, this is pretty strong stuff. I'm going to end up drilling and running 1/2-inch sleeves like this through here for pretty much our bushings. We're not going to have any rubber. It's going to be solid. It doesn't offer a rough ride. It's firm, but it's not rough like people would think. In drag racing, you don't want any deflection, so we're eliminating it. The rear control arms on the back of the olds are solid, no bushings. They're absolutely awesome. So, big thanks to my buddy Ryan. We got this DOM tubing from, so we're going to be using that. And the tube sleeve, which it's tight. I'm going to have to ream it. This bolt that I got in here is tight, but that's what I want, because if you compare the bolts that were in here, which are slightly bigger, they're 7/8, but the 1/2-inch bolts would be fine. They're loose in here. So it's not really a tight fit. I'm going to end up going to 1/2-inch bolts. They're going to be tight. They're going to be nice. And a big reason why, you can see this one looks like took a big bite out of it. Well, it's a Midwestern car. That area of the car gets caked with snow and salt and shit. And I saw this and it kind of, I probably should have my wife racing with it with this shit. So what I ended up doing is I ended up buying a set of upper control arms from Massive or whatever these guys are from eBay. I had used their products on a friend of mine, 69 Impala, in the rear. Real nice stuff. Not really expensive, but I always try to be cheap. But it ended up being $175 shipped to my house, or shop actually, for the uppers. They're adjustable. Now, could I have made them? Yes, absolutely. You can buy the bungs to have, adjustable turnbuckles so you can, adjust your pinion angle. But by the time it's all said and done, the uppers measure about 11 inches. So really, you need about a 1/2-inch either way. 2 feet of 2-inch DOM tubing is roughly about $25. So you figure $25 per arm, plus the bungs, which is another $25. You're in them for $100, plus the work, and you still need heim joints. You really can't beat the price. So I went ahead and I bought the uppers. The lowers I'm going to make because my buddy hooked me up with the material, and I'm going to go ahead and make them. And what I'm going to end up doing is, so just for a little information, the lowers on the GM A body and the B body, center to center, are the same. They're 22 inches between the center of the bolts on both. So you could use GM A body lower control arms on a GM B body. The uppers are longer by 1 inch. So what that means is that my GM A body uppers that I bought that aren't for a B body will work. There is more than enough adjustment on those to get them to 0 pinion. And since usually you have to collapse them to get the pinion angle down, now let me remember that. Yeah, you usually have to collapse them to get your pinion angle down. It's going to work out because the GM A body uppers and the uppers between the B body, late 70s B body, there's an inch of difference. So it will work. So again, we're kind of intermixing GM platforms, but there's no offset in these control arms. There's no offset in these control arms. So, and most GM bushings are standard sizes, this is your standard bushing, the same size bushing you probably find under your GM A body from the 60s and probably till they stopped making them in the late 70s. So it's the same size, it's about, the thickness here is about 2.5. So I'm going, it's 2-inch DOM, and we're going to make up the difference in the width in the sleeve, and we are going to beef it up a little bit. We'll make a really good video on that when we make them. I'm going to make a jig based off of this center to center. In our uppers, when I buy them, I'm going to use, I did this in the past when I cobbled up the control arms for the rear of the Cutlass. So what I did was I drove 2 long bolts through each side, and I set up my adjustable control arm to those 2 pinpoints. So I used 2 bolts tightened up as a jig. I used the old control arm as a jig. It's simple fabrication. You cannot screw it up if you know that it'll bolt through these, because if the bolts go through this, it'll go through the body and the rear end. You're not going to change anything. With the uppers, we need it to collapse. So as long as we're able to set it to this length and collapse it to set pinion angle, we're good. So we're going to find out. I should be able to get those control arms at the end of the week. And the material for the lower control arms, I just got to go ahead and do it and make it and work with it. When I get a little bit of time, it's going to be involved. And I actually want to make an in-depth video. Hopefully my buddy wants to do that one. He wanted to do more videos with me. I don't know if he's done yet editing the video that we did with the transmission, but what he showed me so far, guys, it's really a treat. It's really cool. It's super badass. So I'm hoping that we can make another one like that. Can't do it all the time because, again, my capabilities with editing and stuff and with working on stuff and work and spending time with my wife, you got to pick and choose your battles. So I can't do that form of editing. It really does take a lot of time, and I'm very thankful that he decided to do something like that with me, because so far what I've seen is absolutely badass. So big shout out to him on what he's done so far. Hopefully we got something we can share with you guys. He's been working his ass off on it, and I guarantee you it's going to be badass when it's done. So that's our goal for the weekend, is to have the rear end back in the car, everything set up. I'm still not going to have a drive shaft, but once the rear end is in, we're going to be able to drop in the engine. You know, the transmission engine is in assembly, and we can really take off from there. So we're getting really close to starting to put this thing together. And I did buy shocks. The air shocks are going to a friend of mine. He wants them for his Cutlass, and they'll work in his Cutlass. And the engine, I don't think I showed you guys. Engine is GM Corporate Blue. If anybody who's painted engines knows that after it's been running, it's hard. It's blue for the most part. You still see a few shades of orange, and I got to run on this valve cover, but it's got to come back off, so I'm going to sand it and bomb it. And the reason for that was this enamel, this engine enamel is very forgiving, so I got like fish eyes in there because there was a touch of grease on there that I thought I wiped everything down, but it still had a little residue. So I grabbed a dry shop towel to wipe it off. And it's great, it's forgiving, it hit it. But the problem is, I ended up with a sharp line of paint, and on that sharp line of paint, it became an edge, and the paint just ran from that edge. And literally, it's like a straight line. You can almost see where I wiped it if you look close enough. But either way, I'm going to sand it, touch it up. My goal is to have something that kind of looks factory. Clearly, it's not factory, but this engine is very tame. It's got, it's a 73 350, 72 7A heads, Edelbrock intake. It's got a 260H comp. This engine in my olds ran 13/8 in all steel through the mufflers. Very impressive little combination. So the fact that it's pretty much capable of propelling the car as it was sitting into the 15s, I think that our goal of low 14s in this tank is very realistic and very badass and capable. So I'm actually really excited about getting this combination dialed in into the low 14s, having my wife wheel it, and we're going to play with a lot of little things to try to extract that power, to really cement it into the low 14s. I think if we can get a 12.2 out of this thing, that's pretty good considering this is a little bit heavier than the olds. So the olds in all steel trim with a flat hood was in at about 3450. I think this car is a little bit heavier, probably 35, 36. So 14.2 is, I think, realistic with the right components. Maybe 13s, I don't know. Maybe I've gotten better at tuning. Who the hell knows? We'll figure it out. It's going to be a fun summer if this coronavirus doesn't put the kibosh on things. So guys, stay safe, wipe your ass, clean your hands. If you got extra toilet paper, have your neighbors grab it. You know, they might need some. So, we're gonna sign off on that. We got the hood for the olds. I know I mentioned in the other video, I already got a game plan for that, as I mentioned. So hopefully, if this weekend goes good, the weekend after, I'm gonna dedicate to that hood and really get it squared away. I'd like to make videos on that, but it might be a little intensive, so I might just explain what I'm gonna do with it, because it's gonna be fiberglass repair is fiberglass repair. You just got to get creative. I'm sorry. When it comes to bodywork, unless I can show you guys something really creative, I don't want to do it, because it's not boring to explain, but people really can't grasp it. Let me know. I don't know if you guys want to know any of this shit, because teaching bodywork over a video is hard. Because again, a lot of the things with doing bodywork, sometimes it's acquired and by feel, and unless you're really willing to dive into it, then my phone went off. Unless you're really willing to dive off into it, then you're not going to be able to learn. Because, and by learn I mean whatever I explain to you won't make sense until you do it. So that's the best thing I've learned to tell people about bodywork. I can tell you what to do. I can explain to you what to do. But unless you really dive into it and do it that way, then it's not going to make sense. And that's the kind of learner I am. I'm very hands-on. If somebody explains something to me, it goes over my head until I actually do it, and then it all makes sense. Oh my God. So on that note, guys, it's a short little update video. It's Monday. It's early in the week. Hopefully I get some material. Maybe we'll start on this project during the week.
We got a lot of time, babe.
We do. This coronavirus has fucking things going on, and we're already postponing our vacation. So guys, we've
got a lot of time on our hands.
Yeah, and the NHRA is canceling races. I don't know what's going to go on with track stuff. So yeah. At this point, the coronavirus has affected our plans. Damn it.
A lot of garage time, babe.
Yes.
A lot of garage time.
So all right, guys, share, like, subscribe. Let us know what you think. Again, wipe your ass, wash your hands. Whatever your mom yelled at you to keep clean when you were a kid, you should probably do it right now. So, share, like, subscribe. Follow us on Instagram, Copper Cutlass. Follow us on Facebook, Copper's Garage. I'll let you guys go off on that note. We'll see you around.